Finally! What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. I'm LotusAsakura, the one who never knows best, and in today's video I'm here to talk to you guys about the Season 2 special Tekken Talk Live that just finished taking place and wrapped up a few moments ago, where we got a lot of information and insight on what we can expect for Season 2 of Tekken 8, which will be coming to the game officially in April. And I speculated that it would be April, but I thought it'd be closer to like the middle of April. Turns out it'll actually be on April 1st, which is a pleasant surprise and very, very welcome in my opinion. That being said, the stream was about 2.5 hours long, and in today's video I kind of want to break everything down in a much more streamlined and concise fashion that hopefully makes this video about 30 minutes or less, where you still find out all the most important information that we got from that stream. So in order to reach that goal, let's just go ahead and jump straight into things and let's get into it. First things first, the game has sold over 3 million copies worldwide thus far, which is incredible. That means the game is a big hit right now and is very successful just in terms of sales, and that actually makes it on a faster pace than even Tekken 7, which sold over 12 million copies. So I want nothing but the best for this game. I want it to be wildly successful and popular, and I also want it to be really enjoyable and just all around a fun and good game. And I think so far things are going in the right direction, even if I haven't agreed with everything so far. Season 2 gives me some optimism and some hope, because there's some things in here that I'm a big fan of, and there's some other things I don't know how to feel about, but we'll get to those when we get to those. Moving on, they also of course talked about a bunch of different merchandise and everything like that. I will say, to Michael Murray's credit, he did feel like, or at least it felt like to me, like he was kind of like skipping through the merchandise stuff pretty quickly, just trying to get to the good stuff, the meat and potatoes of the stream, which was the Season 2 information, which I appreciated, and I think a lot of other people have probably appreciated as well. I will say though, while not everybody's a fan of stuff like this, I think this necklace is really cool, and I actually want this for myself. And I've bought some of the other merchandise, like the skate decks, the June, the Jin, and the Kazuya skate decks. I have those. I haven't hung them up on my wall yet, but y'all know I collect stuff like that. So I understand some people's gripes with the monetization of Tekken 8 and all this merchandising stuff, and Tekken becoming more and more of a brand. Hate it or love it, I think some of it is pretty cool, and I appreciate it. And if you don't like it, then you just don't have to buy it. And like I said, I appreciate that they didn't spend too much time on it. We're gonna jump right past this as well. There's also this collaboration. So I don't really know anything at all. I've never even heard of Lineage W or Journey to Monarch or Journey of Monarch. I don't know if that's a testament to me being old or out of touch or just not in the know, or if this is just maybe not the right audience for Tekken. Like I don't know which one it is, but this is a collaboration that's apparently kicking off tomorrow. We can get some iconic characters and skins or whatever in those games or in that game. They showed a trailer. It looked really cool. It's not something that I'm gonna play or whatever, but you know, it is what it is. Moving on, then we get into the actual meat and potatoes. So this is the main update content for Season 2 version 2.00. 4 main parts that they split the stream up into that covered all the things they want to. The first additional character of Season 2, which is of course confirmed to be Anna Williams. The second large-scale battle balance adjustments. Third is ranked match specification changes, and 4 is a new feature, which is Ghost versus Ghost, which is actually something that got announced a while back that never ended up coming to the game, and I guess it finally is now, but I don't really think most people care. So yeah, moving on. Anna Williams, she will be officially releasing on April 1st. Well, early access on April 1st, official release on April 3rd. If you get the season pass, you obviously get her 3 days early, 72 hours early. They showed her trailer on the stream. So yeah, Anna, not a character that I know a whole lot about or that I'm particularly excited about, but she looks cool. I like her new design. I think she's interesting enough. She's probably not a character that I'm going to main, but I'm not super knowledgeable about her. But I will try her out when she does come to the game, of course, just because I kind of want to try out every DLC character, except Clive. Clive I didn't even, you know, honestly, real quick, just a quick aside. I think I can comfortably and confidently and officially say now, Season 1 sucked for DLC for Tekken 8. Yeah, so hopefully Season 2 is a lot better. Anyway, is Anna the way to kick off a better season? For me personally, no, but I know she's got some diehard fans out there and a cult following, so maybe for some of y'all this is the way to kick things off. Anyway, of course, naturally there'll be a Season 2 character pass, which includes up to 4 characters. There's also a season pass, which will include 4 characters and 2 additional stages. And this will go on sale on March 31st in the US or April 1st in Japan. Oh, by the way, something that they acknowledged is that the recent trend in fighting games and in the current landscape right now is that companies are kind of showcasing these battle passes or these season passes all at once. So you get to find out every single character that's going to be in the pass right from the get-go, even if you still have to wait for the trailers and for the characters to eventually come out. Tekken right now is one of the few games that actually still does it one by one, where we have no clue who's going to be in the season pass, and then we eventually get these big reveals at events and everything like that, which can be hype and can be exciting. But it also makes it that some players will buy the season pass or the character pass in advance and then be disappointed with what they got and not satisfied. And then also very, very frequently and often these things get leaked, they get data mined, we find out the big surprise before it's supposed to be officially unveiled, and it kind of like kills the hyper momentum. I don't hate the current model that they use, but I am a fan as well of knowing everything that's going to be in the past straight from the get-go. I might even be in favor of that. So they said that they're listening to feedback and they're listening to the community and trying to, you know, get a pulse and figure out what people would prefer and how they want to do it. They obviously kind of prefer this method, but it made it seem like they're open to the idea of doing it the other way in the future. So there's something to note. Moving on, we have the philosophy and their policy for season 2 and how they designed the game and wanted to make these adjustments. So 3 main points to take note of. They want to expand the strategic options of the heat system to allow players to showcase their individuality, so to allow for more creativity and player expression. Number 2, reevaluate the offensive and defensive balance of the heat system. And number 3, improve the controls for a more accessible gameplay experience. Now, when I initially saw this, I thought the third thing was going to be like something to do with like accessibility for people who might have some sort of impairments or handicaps, such as being visually impaired or a poor hearing or something like that. That's not at all what that meant, but that's what I thought originally. But we'll get more to that in just a moment. So moving on, we have the first point, which is expansion of the strategic options of the heat system. So they made it possible to perform a heat smash and heat burst from certain characters with unique stances, such as Zafina, who you see down here in this screenshot. Then also you're able to return to a crouching state upon hitting with a heat activation move by inputting 1, 2, or 3. Meaning that when you use a heat engager, instead of just being able to dash up to your opponent normally, how it already works, you can now go into crouch, which is useful for characters like Anna Williams, who have full crouch moves and mix-ups. So this is one of those things where it's like, I'm not super hype and gung-ho about this. And they show Zafina doing this, and we'll look at that in just a moment. I'll actually play the footage from the stream. But Zafina is able to go into heat from her stance. Like, she can use heat smash and heat burst from stance, which, as somebody who plays stance characters like Hwarang and Reina, and if they ever add Kunimitsu, she'll probably be a stance character. I guess I benefit from this. Am I the biggest fan of it as somebody who's also going to have to deal with it? I don't know. Time will tell. But introducing a full crouch mix-up from heat engager, oh boy, that sounds nasty. I'm not gonna lie to you. I can imagine a lot of people are not going to be fans of that. I'll have to reserve my own judgment until I actually experience it and have to deal with it in real time. But a mix-up is a mix-up, so it is what it is. I mean, you were already getting mixed after a heat engager anyway, so does it really make that much of a difference? I guess not, but it's just kind of nuts. It's just kind of nuts. But with that being said, though, let's take a jump over to the stream and look at Zafina showcasing this in real time. Also, well, I'll mention this in a moment. So you see she does a little combo, goes into heat burst from stance. There's something else noteworthy here that they didn't mention. Also, I just realized my camera's not here, but there's something that they didn't acknowledge, but is there if you're a keen-eyed individual. You see that? You see that right there? They gave Zafina some sort of install. They did not comment on that or elaborate on it at all, as far as I'm aware. But Zafina's getting some sort of install, which I'm not a fan of, because Tekken, I just feel like she's not like an install kind of game, but it is now, I guess, because some of the characters have it, like Eddie or Brian and Zafina now, and I guess that's just the direction the game is going in. It's not like every character has one, but it's just, you know, again, we have no clue what it is, how it functions, whatever, so I can't like judge it too much. Just generally speaking, I just don't want to see a bunch more characters have installs, but you know, we'll see how that actually plays out once, you know, the new season actually releases. So yeah, that is that. She can now do heat smash, and she's not the only character as well. It's the only character that they really showcase doing it, other than Anna Williams doing her new heat engager stuff as well. But I would assume that like Hwarang can now do this as well, and just, I don't know if it's every character that has a unique stance, but it very well could be. And you can see she also can. So yeah, and then if we skip a little bit further, a little bit too far, you can see that we then get to see a little bit. You can see that we then get to see we get a little sneak peek at Anna, who we'll be seeing a lot more in the March Tekken talk. That will be taking place, I guess, about a month from now, obviously, maybe even in a few weeks. But yeah, we get to see one of her heat engagers, which is a little booty bump. She's throwing that ass, you know what I'm saying? Nice little mid there. And normally that's what you get, you know, you do a heat engager and then you just dash up at your opponent. However, Anna is a character with full crouch moves who can now go into full crouch after a heat engager, which makes her that much more deadly. Yeah, into a, yeah. Also, you see the bazooka being part of her moveset, or the rocket launcher, whatever you want to call it. Not the biggest fan of it, but you know, I don't want to see so many weapons constantly get used. And I think even if you look back at the trailer, I feel like Nina used a move with her pistol that I hadn't seen before. Maybe it's a move she already has, but since I don't play the character, it's not like a super common move. I don't know, but that might be a new move that she has as well, which again, not the biggest fan of, but it is what it is. So yeah, this is something new that you're gonna have to deal with. There's not like a ton of characters that have these full crouch mix-ups, but there'll probably be more DLC characters that take advantage of this as well, and maybe they even give some characters more full crouch moves in this big update, because there's going to be a lot of changes. I mean, Zafina's getting a whole new install, so I mean they're clearly making some big changes to not only the game and mechanics and systems itself, but individual characters as well. So brace yourselves. Oh, another thing worth noting is that they did acknowledge out loud how the community has basically said that like offense feels a little bit too one-sided in this game, how the game can be overly aggressive. I guess they took that into consideration with some of the defensive adjustments that they made when it comes to heat burst and heat smash, and also some movement options that we're about to talk about next. So here we have reevaluate offensive and defensive balance. First of all, they reduced the chip damage during the heat state overall and decreased additional chip damage when heat dash is blocked, and changed certain characters' heat activation moves with power crush properties available from standing state to standard power crush moves. Okay, so I actually made a list in my notepad that was a wish list for changes that I wanted to see in season 2. Ultimately, I never got around to making that video, and it feels kind of like irrelevant or like not worth doing now because we got all this information and season 2 is coming up soon. But one of the things on my list was I wanted a change to happen to power crushing heat engagers. To me, you know, characters like Azusena or Victor, they have these power crushers that are highs and they're also heat engagers and they're safe. I thought that was stupid. I thought, to me, it would make sense if you make those at the very least -10. Power crushing heat engager should be -10. Already asinine that it existed in the first place, but like at least make them unsafe. I did not personally think that it was like a realistic possibility that they would remove the heat engager properties from these moves, but they are. They're actually doing it, much to my surprise and much to my happiness. Like, this was one of the most exciting things to me, where I was just like, oh, yo, they're actually doing it, because I just feel like those moves are completely ridiculous. Like, it's just way overtuned, and I just thought it was silly. I just thought it was very, very silly. And so characters like Azusena, which was the only one that got showcased for this specific change, she loses the heat engage property on her power crush, but she gained it on her 3/3 string, I believe, which I'll jump back over to the monitor and show you there exactly. But then also when it comes to the chip damage, they removed, not removed, but reduced the chip damage during heat, which is also another thing that I had on my list of changes that I would like to see. I know some people want to see chip damage go away altogether. I just don't think again, that was one of those things where I was like, I don't think removing it altogether is realistic for their vision and their philosophy on the game. But I wanted to see chip damage and gray life get reduced a little bit. They didn't touch gray life at all as far as I'm aware, but they are reducing the chip damage, which I think is a great change and a step in the right direction, and something I'm personally a big fan of. There's just so many characters that are just doing ridiculous amounts of chip. I mean, Kumo is, if y'all were watching the Europe Tekken Cup the other day, all credit to Nino, phenomenal player. All credit to Wrongtree for winning TWT, incredible world-class players. But boy, and you know, he's not the only one. I mean, Huanon can do a whole lot of chip in heat, and most characters can, but it was just out of control in my opinion. They also reduced the chip damage on heat dash. So before, I wrote it down, heat dash would do about 19 damage on chip. It has been adjusted to 15, and now when you're enraged, the damage goes from 12 to 4. So across the board, chip damage has been nerfed. I think this is an incredible change and something that I'm a fan of. But you guys can feel free to let me know how you feel about this change in the comments down below. All right, so now we have Azusena, and they're going to demonstrate. You see that her power crush is no longer a heat engager, but she now gets a heat engager from her 3/3 string, which also, hold on, let me adjust my camera real quick. Yeah, so they removed the heat engage properties from her power crush, which I believe is it forward 1+2 or back 1+2? But she gets a new one from her 3/3 string, which is obviously guaranteed on counter hit from that. So is that a worthwhile change, or a worthwhile trade-off rather for Azusena players? I don't really main the characters, so you guys will have to tell me, but generally speaking, I'm a big fan of removing the heat engage properties from these safe power crushers. I just thought, yeah, I made my opinion on that one clear. Let's move on. So the next big thing is that they made these control enhancements. So you can now laterally move toward the foreground from a crouching state, meaning you can now sidestep from crouch significantly easier than you could before. And this is a game changer for dealing with characters like Law or Dragunov, who are both very powerful in this game. Although it looks like Dragunov caught a nerf based on some footage that we saw later. Also, you can now sidestep with pre-input functionality, which is something that I have to reserve my judgment. But basically you can buffer your sidesteps, and then also they ease input difficulty at the start of rounds, implementing slight input buffering. So let's go ahead and break this down. So number one, it is now easier to sidestep into the foreground from crouch. So if you're on P1 and you sidestep to the right, that's significantly easier to do now. Cool, welcome change. 2, enable sidestepping with pre-input functionality. So there are characters who have strings, like let's say Law or Jin, that are sidesteppable to the left or the right. And sometimes you'd block the first 2 hits and then try to step, and it would track and you'd still get hit or whatever because the sidestep just didn't quite come out when you needed it to or when you wanted it to. They now allow you to buffer that sidestep, and I don't know how big the buffer window is or how easily this is done or how abusable it is. It's still going to require some knowledge, I guess, on both sides, because my first impression of this was this is just going to allow you to just mash sidestepping while you're blocking a string and not have to have as much knowledge or of what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Just make it so that it's like, okay, I'm just never going to have to hold these strings. I'll just mash sidestep, and as soon as I'm able to get out, I'll just be able to get out. But it's not obviously going to be that easy unless your opponent is unable to adjust their offense. But certain strings that are steppable are just now going to be easier to step once you're blocking them because you can buffer the input a little bit. Now, what this means for the offensive player is that if you're somebody who's just flow charting or just autopiloting constantly, your opponent's going to be able to easily step out, and what you're going to have to do is now adjust your timings and your strings and your offense and your pressure. So instead of just mashing 1-1-1 or doing 2-2 or whatever the case is, whatever character you're playing, maybe now I'll do the first 2 hits of the string into a homing move or into this tracking low or whatever the case is. You know what I mean? It just adds another layer, a little bit more of a mind game, I guess. Makes it that offense isn't just quite as autopilot and as simple and straightforward. Whereas before it's like, I'm gonna just mash the string, you held this, you blocked it, I'm +5, here's this mix up, or you know, whatever the case is, or this is a heat engager now, and you know what I'm saying, you tried to sidestep, but this hit tracked, and or you just the sidestep didn't quite come out when you needed it to, and you fidgeted, so you got hit by this heat engager into a mix up. You know what I'm saying? So it's a change that it's one of those things I kind of have to feel it out before I can really say how I feel about, you know what I'm saying? Like I have to feel it in game to have a strong opinion on it. But it does seem like a powerful change. And then the ease input difficulty to set of rounds just means it's going to be easier to like buffer inputs before a round starts, which again, I'm going to have to see how I feel about it in real time or in action. But this means that when I'm trying to mash a jab round start because I have an idea what my opponent's going to do and I just want to check them, you know what I mean? Or if I'm trying to do down 4-1, I'm not going to be getting hit by 15 frame moves at the start of rounds anymore, you know what I'm saying? So that's cool. Although this will definitely mean people doing stuff like, oh, I'm just going to buffer electric or hell sweep round start much easier than before. And just, you know, whatever move it is that they want to do. But yeah, so that's that. And if I jump to the monitor over here, you can see that we actually get a demonstration of exactly what this looks like. So Dragunov hits the down 2, and then Jin is able to, from crouch, still step into the foreground or to the right. Sidestep from the crowd. So very nice, very welcome change. This was not the case in like older games, so I don't really know how like legacy players feel about this, like people who've been like playing this game at a high level for a long time. As an intermediate level player, I mean, I think I like it. Again, could my opinion change once we actually get the season update? Sure, but for now, I have no real issue with that. Next, we get into the rank changes, which is one of the things I'm the most excited about. So first and foremost, here is their policy with the new rank changes. Number 1, implement proper matchmaking based on skill level, which shouldn't that have always been the case or the philosophy? Don't really know what we were doing before, but sure. Number 2, create a competitive and fair point system. Again. And number 3, develop an environment that maintains goals and ensures long-term enjoyment. So what this means, number 1, in Season 2, Tekken prowess or power is no longer used for matchmaking. Thank you. I don't think the system was good or even worked in the first place. And I understood why they tried to make it that way, but I think it was a very flawed system that just didn't make a lot of sense. And so the new system, it now considers the highest rank among all characters for matchmaking purposes. So what this means is that, let's say you're a Tekken King player and you're playing a character who's at Fujin, right? The game is going to be more likely to match you up against somebody else whose highest character is also Tekken King, as opposed to somebody whose highest ranked character might be Tekken God Supreme, but they have the same prowess as you. Because in my case, for example, right, I have 2 characters at Tekken King, I have another character at like Fujin, and a couple like battle rulers, and like maybe like something else, right? But across like Hwarang, Reina, Eddie, Victor, Azucena, all these characters that I played, Heihachi and stuff. So I have a prowess of about 255,000. What that means is that sometimes I'll get matched up against players who have like 250 to 280 or even 300,000 prowess, and those players are like Tekken God Supreme or even like God of Destruction and stuff, right? And of course, plenty of times I get matched up against like 350k to 400,000 prowess, which again, it's just like, if I'm at 250, why am I getting matched up against somebody who's 400,000 anyway? Just showing that the system is not really working the way it should. Whereas now, and even if I have 4 characters at Tekken King, which would inflate my prowess, instead of me fighting somebody who's like a God of Destruction on their ult, I'll match up against somebody else who's also another Tekken King, which I think makes more sense. Personally, I'm a fan of this. This is not the MR system that we were hoping for. What I really wanted from Tekken, by the way, in terms of like this whole rank system, is something that more closely like mimics Street Fighter 6, because I think when it comes to fighting games, they have the best rank system right now. I want like an ELO system or something like that. We're not quite getting that, but there are some changes that I am a fan of, and there's more things to talk about here when it comes to these ranks. And when it comes to the matchmaking in particular, I am a fan of this. Next, specification changes for rank promotion. They adjusted the timing of rank promotion for secondary characters and modify the rank assignment after promotion. So what this means is, before, if you made it to Raijin rank, then all your characters who weren't Godyu go up to Godyu. When you made it to Tekken Emperor, your lowest rank for all your secondary characters went up to Flame Ruler. In Season 2, they're adjusting that so that the window is smaller, which, again, not sure how I feel about it. I have felt as though the secondary character promotions could use some adjustments and some tweaking, because it didn't feel as accurate as it could be. So going back to what I was saying, when I'm a Tekken King and I'm fighting somebody who's a God of Destruction and they're playing on an alt character, I feel like that gap in power is still a lot bigger than like me being Tekken King fighting somebody who's like a Fujin or a Raijin or something like that. You know what I mean? That's just based on all personal experience. You could disagree with that or let me know how you feel. But they're shrinking the window. So instead of being like 7 ranks, it can be like 3 or 4. I don't know what it is for every single rank, how big the gap is, but from Raijin to Godyu, that's 7. From Tekken Emperor to Flame Ruler, that's 7. Whereas in Season 2, Fujin to Mighty Ruler, that's 3 ranks. Tekken King to Fujin, that's 4 ranks. So they made it so that the amount of ranks that your secondaries are is higher and the gap is smaller. Is that better? I don't really know. So it looks like it could potentially scale differently for the ranks. So from Tekken King, you're going down 4. From Fujin, you're going down 3. So when you're God of Destruction, like, could that number be bigger or smaller? Or is it limited to 3 or 4? I guess we don't really know for sure yet. But I just feel like, yeah, I don't know what the perfect amount is or what the perfect gap is for your secondary character to be promoted as a player. So I like that they are trying to fine tune it for sure. I just don't know if this is like the best, and I won't know until we get our hands on it. But you know, like I said, I think they're making steps in the right direction. Moving on, the addition of search filters. Add a same rank only option to search filters to enhance matchmaking precision. Implement a rank restriction option in quick match search filters. What have I been saying since the game came out? Finally! Jesus Christ! If you've been watching my videos, you know I have been shouting this from the rooftop, screaming to the high heavens, saying that I want these 2 things added to the game. It makes no sense at all that these aren't in the game. Why would you design a rank system that's based around getting the most amount of points from fighting players who are the exact same rank as you, and then not offer an option to search for players who are the same rank as you in the rank system so that you could get the most amount of points possible to continue to rank up? Beyond that, why, when I queue up for quick match, am I, as a Tekken King, getting matched up against green and yellow rank players? It made no sense. It made no sense. And they finally adjusted it. They finally. I got so excited seeing this, but I really shouldn't have, because this shouldn't, they should have just been the way from the get-go. Like, why was this not the way the game released? Whatever. We've been playing Tekken 8.0 for so long. Tekken Season 2 is actually the first official release of Tekken 8, bro. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm getting so amped. I need a drink of water real quick, because this is, it should have just been like this from the get-go, dog. So next, they've also adjusted the point system itself and the amount of points that you win or lose based off the rank of your opponent. So you know how, like, I just went on that little mini rant talking about how I've been ranting about logical sense when it comes to the matchmaking and the rank system and everything like that. You know that other thing I've been talking about, how it makes no sense, how the way the system works? They finally fixed it. So, again, I have been screaming since the release of this game that why do you get less points for beating somebody who's a higher rank than you do for fighting somebody who's the same rank as you? You should, logically, win more points for beating somebody who is a higher rank than you. If they are higher rank and allegedly or supposedly more skilled than me, I should be rewarded greater for beating them. You know, doesn't that make sense? Well, that's finally how it's going to work. In season 1, when you win against somebody who's a higher rank, you got a medium increase. When you lose, you got a medium decrease. Why? I should get less points for I should lose less points for losing to them and win more points for beating them. They're a higher rank than me. That just makes logical sense. That should just be a fundamental aspect of how ranked works. And then when you want to against a lower ranked opponent, you would win a small amount and then lose a medium amount if you lost. In season 2, you get a large point increase for beating somebody of higher rank and a small point decrease for losing against them. Duh. You know what I mean? And when you fight a lower ranked opponent, a small point increase for beating them, so that's still the same, but a larger point decrease for when you lose to them. Should have just always worked like that, man. It should have just always worked like that. But better late than never, I suppose. Next, they're also removing the consecutive loss penalty, which off first impression on paper, I'm not a big fan of, but we'll see how it goes. But they removed the system that previously imposed larger point losses after 3 consecutive defeats at certain ranks. This creates a more consistent point reduction system regardless of loss streaks. The loss streaks feel very, very brutal in Tekken 8, but that makes it harder to rank up, which makes ranking up feel more rewarding and harder to achieve and obtain. So like, while it did feel bad, it's not like I absolutely hated it. It just felt bad, but like losing always feels bad. Like losing should feel bad. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying I hate this change. I don't know how I feel. My first impression was, oh, I don't like that. But I'll again, this is one of those ones where I'll wait and see. I will wait and see how it feels. Then moving on, we have an improved point system for also win streaks. So in season 1, once you got the blue rank and above, you earned an additional bonus points for every 3 consecutive wins. So if you weren't already aware, in Tekken, if you lose 3 games in a row, you lose an additional amount of points. So let's say you're like a Raijin or whatever, right? If you lose 3 games in a row, on that 3rd loss, you're gonna lose 1,000 points. You know what I mean? If you win 3 in a row, then you win 1,000 points, as opposed to like the 400 to 500 you normally win per game. They're changing it in season 2. In season 2, for red ranks and below, additional bonus points increase progressively based off consecutive wins, starting from just 2 victories. So let's say a legacy player jumps on, fresh account, new to the game, whatever, hadn't played Tekken 8 before. Instead of being stuck in the red ranks and forced to complete a monotonous grind, they will, if they win 10 games in a row, the amount of points they're getting per win keeps stacking up more and more, so that they rank up that much faster. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a legacy player, somebody really skilled, but that applies to like anybody. Let's just say you're new to the game, but you're learning very well and very quickly. You're not stuck in there just beating up on other red rank players because you have to sit here for so long. You can progress through it very, very, very quickly, which I think is good. This is, again, something that I mentioned a while back that it should have been the case. And so while this new rank system isn't ideal, it is leaps and bounds better than what we just had in season 1. I think these are significant improvements that I'm a fan of. I still think it could be even better, but I am happy with this personally. Moving on, we also have ranked match specification changes. I'm talking too fast. So they've refined the promotion bonus. So in season 1, when promoted, players retain all bonus points regardless of promotion history. In season 2, the bonus points are only retained when reaching a new highest rank. What they mean by this is that before, when you get demoted in the game, I'm sure you guys are aware of this. When you get demoted, your next match is typically going to be a promotion match. And if you win that promotion match and go back to the rank you just lost, you would end up with more points than you had when you lost. And so it became a thing where it was kind of very abusable, right? Where you would almost want to lose on purpose if you were confident enough that you could win, just to get more points and get back on track to go forward in the ranks. Well, that was a system that they intended, but they didn't like how easily it was abused and how like players were like, abuse sounds like too negative a connotation, but they decided that that's not how they want the game to be. So they're changing that to where now you don't get that big bonus anymore, and like you'll rank back up, but you're not gonna end up with more points than you had before you got demoted. You know what I'm saying? So that's that. Here's another big thing: rank reset and adding new ranks. In season 2, they will be determining your new starting rank based on the highest rank you achieved in season 1. and they'll reference the rank attained prior to the season 2 maintenance update. So what this means is whatever the highest rank is that you've achieved right up until the game goes on maintenance, that will be the reference point for what your new rank will be in season 2. So you also get these little like fancy nameplates or badges or whatever for whatever the highest rank is that you achieved in season 1. So this slide shows exactly what rank you will be in season 2 based on what your highest achieved rank was in season 1. So if you're a purple rank, you're going to go down to Gaudiu, so on and so forth. If you're a warrior below, your rank's not going to get reset. If you went to assailant, you'll go down to warrior. Dominators through vanquisher goes down to assailant, so on and so forth. My highest achieved ranks are Tekken King and Tekken Emperor, so I'll be a Fujin in season 2 unless I make it higher before then, which I might, who knows. I could make it to Tekken God, maybe, possibly, I don't know. Yes, so, and God Destructions will be demoted down to Tekken King. So not only are they doing like a little light rank reset, which I think encourages like some more grinding and just playing the game and progression, you know, all that good stuff. I think a rank reset is good, and honestly I would encourage that to happen every season personally. I don't know how you guys feel, but this is something that they could do every season and I'd be in favor of that. And then we have 8 new ranks beyond God of Destruction. Now here's the thing, they said over here, right, all these slides about them adjusting the point system and everything like that. When it comes to these new ranks, they mentioned that it's going to be significantly more difficult to rank up from God of Destruction through these higher levels of God of Destruction, and it's going to have its own point system that's different. We don't really know what that means, how it functions, or anything like that. Could this be more of an MR system, ELO? We don't really have a lot of information or details specifically on how these new ranks are going to function. But as you can see, there's God of Destruction, and then God of Destruction 1 through 7, and then God of Destruction Infinite or 8, Ouroboros, whatever you want to call this, you know what I'm saying? And they like reference Dragon Ball and everything like that with this, and they talked a little bit about it, but not in terms of specifically how the point system is going to function. But I think this is really cool. It gives players something to grind for, a reason to keep playing the game. I hope it actually is very, very difficult to achieve, and that only I want this to be something where, like, outside of people who are cheating and hacking and boosting whatever, right, but like the way it is right now, I think there are a lot of players capable of hitting God of Destruction that aren't that great at the game. I think right now, if you just play enough and grind the game enough, you can get there. And I think even at like my level, if I were to actually just grind ranked every day, I could probably eventually get there, even though I don't think I'm anywhere near the level of a player like a Speed Kicks or a K-Wiz or a Knee, Arslan Ash, Atif, whatever, right? I want, in fighting games, I want it to be like the highest rank in the game is only achievable by the best players in the world. So I want this to be something where it's like, nah, you gotta be somebody who's like cracking top 8s at majors to hit this rank, you know what I'm saying? Because you can be God of Destruction and still get washed in Tekken, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can be God of Destruction and lose in pools in this game right now because the variance is so high. Personally, I wanted to be like, nah, if you make it to this level, like you really must be nice, you know what I'm saying? And hopefully that is how it functions. I think that'll make it mean a little bit more, you know what I'm saying? Like, actually make ranked mean something, at least for players who are, you know, at that skill level or whatever. Ooh, but yeah, man, so that is pretty much everything. They also, like I said, went over a bunch of ghost battle stuff, but I don't really think y'all care too much about that. At least I don't. And so yeah, they also mentioned, by the way, there's going to be like 1,500 total changes coming to the game in season 2, which sounds absurd, like absolutely insane. Honestly, sounds like too much, but we'll see. To me, that sounds like those patch notes are going to be beefy. It's going to be one hell of an update, one hell of a patch. But I'm looking forward to it, man. And it looks like we're a little bit over 30 minutes, but we kept it under 40. So I think that's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. Chopping down 2.5 hours to under 40 minutes, I think we did all right. But I went through that as quickly as I could. Hopefully not too fast, but hopefully not too slow either. How are you guys feeling? Like I said, they showed some things that I'm excited about, that I'm happy about. Some things I'm unsure about, but we'll see how it goes. And we're going to get only more information as time goes on. Another Tekken Talk coming in March, showing more Anna stuff and probably more season 2 stuff. And then the update will officially come to the game on April 1st. That is that. Whew, I'm exhausted. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Hit this video with a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you haven't already so you can stay tuned for all the awesome content I'm bringing you. But with all that being said, that's pretty much all I have today. And remember, let's get happy to swing the bat. Later. By the way, those badges are ugly, but the system at least looks cool.